So let me introduce you to the audience who will be listening to this podcast. Uh, he's Dr. Howard Farhan. DDS MBA he's a practicing dentist with more than 32 years of clinical experience now. He's the founder and CEO of Dental Town magazine, which is celebrating 20 years in publication. Uh, he is the number one best-selling author for his book Uncomplicated Business. He hosts a popular podcast, Dentistry Uncensored, as well as he's a noted international speaker on faster, easier, and more efficient dentistry. He has captivated audiences around the world with his innovative, informal, off the cuff, and entertaining lectures for more than 2 decades. His area of expertise covers many aspects of dentistry, including the business of dentistry and clinical topics. Howard was voted by his peers in the top three on the list of the 32 most influential people in dentistry in 2017 to 19. And here is that was the short version of bio that is very formal. I will see you from a student's point of view because I seek so much knowledge. So from here, the bio that I have created for you, or the way I see you, is you have interviewed more than 1,700 people across the globe pertaining to dentistry and beyond, the business of dentistry, and mostly all the people have ever read their books or have gone through their articles, like Carl Misch, the legendary Carl Misch. You have interviewed him for more than 2 hours, 4 years back, and that is the most iconic interview I've seen. Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone, the biggest business tycoons in the world, and the most motivating people in the world, uh, in the world of implantology, Dr. Arun K. Garg, and there were Dr. Sasha, and so many people from endodontics, my specialty. You have interviewed Sonia Chopra, Ellen Ali Nase, um, Stephen Buchanan, and so many more. Lincoln Harris, Chris Barrow, the business guy who teaches dentistry and the business in balance, and of course Rico Short and so many other iconic people. So it's a great honor, sir. It's a great honor to be on our show, and it's um, I'm beyond words how to introduce more than this, because the I guess I will be finding out that words cannot describe you. You are an icon in yourself. So can I take your permission to start with the questions that are actually going in my head? Already 10,000 questions I have boggled my head, and uh, I've been thinking about you for almost 5 6 days now, and I was like, what would I ask sir, that his wisdom is so huge. You have seen dentistry for 32 years. So welcome again to the show, sir, and please tell me more about yourself.
It's an
Please tell me
honor to
more
be
about.
on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. It's an honor. One of the most exciting lectures I ever gave was close to you in New Delhi, and
Yeah.
oh my gosh, well, I mean, there's more people in the city of New Delhi than in the entire state of California. I mean,
Okay.
I still couldn't wrap my head around that. It was just an amazing trip. And then the next lecture afterwards was Kathmandu, Nepal. I mean, just
Yeah.
love your region, love going over there.
Thank,
It's a must see for anyone.
thank you. So, uh, sir, just before we start the entire thing, the proper COVID and Corona phase, what we want to talk about today, I wish to know what is your source of inspiration to start off Dental Town as a digital content or a magazine or a communication between dentists. What gave you that inspiration to start off with that, and what keeps you inspiring so that you have been working on the same platform and all the digital platforms that are coming up for 20 years, and I wish we want to see you more for next all the coming years. So what is the source of your energy, sir?
Well, it was in 1994 when Amazon went public, and
Okay.
I wasn't smart enough to understand that or why, and I just kind of noticed it every once in a while. And the internet in 1994, it was AOL, it was dial up, you had to get a ringtone. It was a crazy thing, and I wasn't really interested in 94, 95, 96. But it was 1998 where the biggest sports website, ESPN, on their
Okay.
website, they started a message board. And
Okay.
I saw people talking about football. Of course, you call football soccer.
Yes.
We have a um, and I thought to myself, oh my God, I would love to be able to talk to a dentist about a root canal filling and a crown. And why are we talking about football when we could? So I felt I was very professionally lonely in the fact that when I came home from work, if I had a failed root canal, I couldn't talk to my wife, my mom, my dad, my child, everybody that loved me. If I told them I was worried about a root canal, they would all say that they would say a prayer for me. And I
Okay.
didn't want a prayer. I wanted to talk to you, an endodontist.
Yes.
And when I saw them post a picture of a football game and everybody talking about the football game, the next day I started calling around and I found Ken Scott, who just celebrated his 19-year anniversary yesterday
Okay.
here
Okay.
as a programmer because the first year he worked for another firm,
Okay.
and I just wanted. The only people that understand dentistry are dentists, and I just wanted to be able to post a picture of like a failed root canal and ask another dentist, "What did you think?" And the minute
Okay.
it went live, it was popular. Everybody loved it.
Okay. Okay. And uh, how was the idea of going online? Because YouTube came a bit later, like maybe around 2006, 2007, and the digital content, that the interviews that have you started. So when was the idea that was converted into digital interviews and the webinars? Because in past 4 5 months we have seen a flood of webinars or the podcasts that have come up. But before that, we had that technology, but we were not actually using it. So how did you start? Like, you should go to YouTube and uh, give out content. Like, what
Well,
gave you that
the reason Jeff Bezos called it Amazon when he
idea? Okay.
started with books is because
Okay.
at the time you could only sell a book with text. The
Okay.
pipes were very small, so you
Okay.
could only send a description of a book and a link. So he just started selling books, but he knew that the pipes would get bigger and bigger, and eventually it went from a text to sending a picture. And then it
Okay.
went to a video, and then it went to streaming video. So we know the technology is going to make the pipes bigger and bigger and bigger. So when it started off, it was just email, texting type stuff, and then later it was pictures. Now you can upload a video, and I think streaming video is the next thing. Like when you FaceTime people, it's just going to be as the technology improves, it's going to improve upon the relationship. So the main thing is that we have a relationship, but the technology will get better and better and better and better. But
Right.
it just starts off small and you work your way up.
Okay. So I sent I have certain questions regarding this corona phase, because this has taken a lot of toll on us, and because of this corona phase that has happened, dentistry has lost a lot of things. So can you put some light on that? What are the opportunities a dentist can have post this COVID phase, so that they can actually gather up themselves and do something good?
Well, I think what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And when I got out of high school in 1980, I was born in 62. So this month, August 29th, I turned 58. And when I got out of high school in 1980, that was when the HIV/AIDS virus was
Right.
out. And
Yes.
in
Yes.
1979, they were talking about it. 1980, it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Uh,
And in 1980, all the dentists I knew in Wichita, no one wore gloves. They all had cuspidors to spit in the bowl. They didn't have. They half of them still stood up. They didn't even sit down. They thought the people that sat down had more back problems, and HIV came out, and it was a. We had to wear gloves, and we in Phoenix, Arizona, where I live. It was 112 degrees yesterday. And I remember
Okay.
when I opened up my dental office, OSHA just had a new ruling that we could no longer wear shorts and short sleeves. And that was
Okay.
actually the most stress for my staff. They weren't upset about gloves and masks. They were upset that they couldn't wear short. And you couldn't, just like now, you couldn't explain things to them. Like they would say, well, how does me having a short sleeve shirt or a pair of shorts, because they loved working, they get come in, everybody had white shoes, white shorts, a white short sleeve shirts, it's hot out. It was just fun. And my
Yes.
staff was very upset. They wanted to get the head of the CDC and say, explain to me how wearing shorts can either transmit AIDS or receive AIDS. I mean, so a lot of stuff just doesn't make sense. But it
Right.
was the protocol. But we got rid of the cuspidors. We wore gloves. We
Okay.
used to have water come into the hand speed that came in from the street, and then
Yeah.
we moved it to a bottle. So the question on COVID-19 is that these viruses, they've been around longer than humans. I mean, Homo sapien is only a million-year-old species.
Yeah.
Mitochondrial Eve, it's only a million years old. I think the coronavirus, these things have been around for millions of years, and they'll be
Right.
here millions of years after. So we're learning about how to live with them. And so my
Right.
question on infection control, it's not what are you doing now during the panic. It's what will you do when the pandemic's still gone to be ready.
Okay.
What will survive? I don't know if the UV lights are going to make it. I imagine the HEPA filters will. I mean, so right now we're turned upside down. And as you're
Right.
trying to figure out how to get through the pandemic, which we're probably not even halfway through, it's
Right.
probably all of 2019. I mean, all of 2020 and all of 2021. I think hopefully the peak will be at the end of this year, and then next year it'll
Right.
be, we climbed up to Mount Everest. That's very close to you. Can you even see Mount
Yeah.
Everest from your house? Um, January to Christmas will be, climbing to the top of Mount Everest. Then 2021 will be going back down. And then, so my question is, in 2022, what will you still be doing in your
Okay.
office for the next
Okay.
pandemic?
Okay.
And you see that in airplanes. Like when the big SARS pandemic came out in 2012, Boeing, the new airplanes, they don't recycle the air. They throw the air out. So the planes that Airbus and Boeing made after 2012 are
Okay.
better for this pandemic than the ones before 2012. And that's the way the whole world's going to get. I think someday we won't be wearing masks, again in public again, but it's just it's a new time.
It's a new time. Yes. And we have to start living with it.
Right.
Right. And so one more thing, because things are very down, these revenue wise. So how should a dentist motivate themselves? Because almost 4 5 months down the drain, and the revenues have gone steep. Like uh, the OPD has whatever the number of patients that we see has remained around just 10% of what we used to see every day, and the kind of scare that corona has, so that has also stopped patients from uh, attending to their dental needs very frequently. So what a dentist should do to just gain that confidence back again, and just keep themselves motivating that we have to move on from this point and things will get better.
Well, the first thing you have to understand is your operational leverage. So, if you used to have a restaurant that had five cooks and five waitresses, and now you only have half the business, well, you only need two cooks and two waitresses. So, a
Right.
lot, so when demand comes down, you can shed a lot of cost, mainly labor, things like that. So,
Right.
everyone has operational leverage to a point. So when you have
Okay.
a reduction in demand, you have a reduction in your cost. But I think that when the going gets rough, the rough get going. I mean, they say
Right.
the first casualty of war is the battle plan. As soon as the soldiers hear one shot fired, everybody runs and hides. So a leader is when it gets tough. That's when we need you to lead. We didn't need you. Before the battle, but now the battle has started, and this is when the one thing I like to also look is their calendar. It's like I go back before the pandemic. Somebody
Okay.
would their office would be going bankrupt, and you would look at their calendar, but they still were in the Kiwanis Club and the Rotary Club, and they had church on Wednesday night and Sunday day, and I'm looking, and they still have a vacation. So I'm looking at their schedule and say, well, based on your schedule, I don't see that there's any problem. But I'm acutely aware that you indeed have a big problem and your schedule's not reflecting that. So when problems get really, really big, the first thing I've always done in my 32 years, if there's a really big problem, I delete my calendar. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is job one. And when we look at a country, I mean, you live in the most populous country in the world. What is it?
Yes.
China and India each have what, a
Yes.
billion, 2 billion,
Yes.
three. America is just the third largest, and it only has 320 million. Then it's Indonesia.
Yes.
But when you look at a country like United States, 320 million, or India, 1,100,000,000, there's many, many markets in there. I mean, you can't compare Texas to New Delhi or New York City to, all these areas are differently. And within an area, you're going to have a lot of patients. And in America, half the country does not believe this is a problem. They think it's the flu. And I know a lot of deaths, people are saying, well, 150,000 have died. Well, 150,000 out of, well, let me just show you the percentage of that. When you look at, let's go with 325 million Americans. That's a pretty good number that everybody agree. Divide that by 150,000. That's not a very high percent. So a lot of people have not seen or known anybody with the disease or died. Now that's starting to
Right.
change now. Now
Yes.
it seems like everyone is starting to know someone. But the bottom line is, I'm a doctor, you're a patient.
Right.
And when you come to me, you need a doctor. You don't need a clergyman telling you right or wrong. You don't need a politician. You don't need a policeman. So half of my patients think this is just a crazy overreaction conspiracy. The other half are really, really scared. And there's a lot of truth in the matter, because it looks like a lot of the people who thinks this is just overblown hype, they're young and healthy. And a lot of
Yes.
people that are scared, they're old. They're 60, 70, 80, 90, and maybe they got diabetes or heart disease or whatever. And so what we're seeing here is that the 35 and under, they just think they're going to catch a cold, and they're right for the most part. I mean, probably 99% of the time, they're just going to
Right.
have a little cold or no symptoms. But the older people tend to be the ones that need all the dentistry, the root canals, the fillings, the crowns, the bridges, the implants, and they're scared. So what you have to do is you got to have two dental office worlds. So you can have all your young, high volume, say Monday through Thursday, but when people
Right.
call you up and they say, well, I'm scared, I don't want to go in there, I don't want to catch the corona, then we say,
Yes.
well, if you pay for your treatment in advance,
Okay.
we'll
Okay.
schedule a time that when you come here, you'll be the only one here. So
Yes.
and when they find out that they can come at 5 o'clock, and it's only going to be the doctor and the assistant, no one else,
Open
they
it. Oh my
feel
God.
safer. And then when they come in and they see the new plexiglass and they see the air filters, so they've been coming to you, and they
I,
didn't never even thought about a pandemic. Now there's this pandemic, they come back to you and they see actions speak louder than words. They see things are very different. So it all
right.
comes down to trust, that I have faith that you're taking this as serious as I am afraid of it. And
Yes.
if they think you're taking it serious, that you're still back open for business. So it's just going to be a different world, but the old world's not going to go away.
Okay. Like just like what we say, the exclusive practices for that used to be for celebrities or for a limited time, and only specialists will see them. Something like that happening to every single patient. I believe that is the kind of thing we are going to, like a studio kind of a work, exclusively for a certain patient at a certain point of time in the particular chair, and that is sorted. I guess that's the message. Okay. So, are you practicing nowadays? Like,
Yes.
just a casual question.
I'm
Okay.
such a bad dentist. I still have to practice. I'm still not good yet. 32 years of practicing, and I still have to keep practicing.
Okay.
I'll always be a dentist. I
Yes.
love dentistry. I think
Very
if
nice.
I would never sell my practice because then I would have to, in my home, set up an optometry. I mean, I got to work on my grandkids, or you can't take a chair away from a dentist. And when you start thinking about putting an operatory in your house and the air compressor and the water and all, it's just easier to keep your dental office. And I got grandkids that want to be a dentist, but I still love the dentistry part. I just love it. And I actually love extractions the most, which is kind of, you'd think a
Okay.
dentist would be like you, saving the teeth, and endodontist. And I love endo, but I
Yes.
love extractions. I love it all. But yeah, I hopefully, I mean, I've been in two practices where I spent a day with a dentist seeing patients at age 92. And in LA, I spent the day with a dentist who was seeing patients at 98. So I turned 58 this month. So, God, I hope I can do it another 10, 20 years.
So, you have already celebrated your birthday this month, or it's about to come? Your
Say it
birthday?
again. I'm sorry.
Your when is your birthday? Birthday?
Oh, my birthday's August 29th.
August
I don't
29.
know what day. I think it's on a Saturday or something. Let me see. Yep, it's the
Okay.
last Saturday of the month. I turned
So,
58, and
okay.
but I'm mostly excited about today because today's August 4th. Today's my 30-year anniversary of my first lecture, and
Congratulations.
my comptroller made me this pillow. She took a what is it, Dentistry Uncensored. But yeah, I cannot believe that 30 years ago today, and I held it in New York City at the Sheraton Manhattan because I was from a
Okay.
small town in Kansas, and I just wanted to go to New York City, which was the biggest city. It'd be like the New
Okay.
Delhi of America,
Yes.
and
Yes.
so me and my buddy from dental school, Craig Steichen, it was 99% wanting to go to New York and have a reason to go to New York City, and
Okay.
1% lecturing. And here I am 30 years later. I had no idea when I gave that lecture that someday I'd be doing it 30 years later. But the biggest hidden gift was I had no idea that 50 other countries like your country would invite me to come speak. And my four boys now, they're 30, 20, they're all married with children. My four boys have turned into a half dozen grandchildren, and they say that their greatest memories was going to all those countries with dad lecturing, and they all
Oh,
say
very,
they
very
learned
nice.
more doing that than they did in college. I mean, I
Yes.
have some boys saying, that they can't believe how many years they spent in college didn't learn half as much as they did when they went to India, Malaysia, Vietnam, Cambodia. I mean, they just loved it. And my gosh, it really opens up your mind. And in fact, I see that with America. A lot of people, the people that I know in America that think this is the greatest country in the world, my first question is, name me another country you've been to. They've never seen another country. Well, my God, it's kind of like your mom's cooking. You think your mom is the best cook in the world until you get older and you go to a restaurant and you're like, that Greek restaurant, that Italian. I know a few places that can cook better than my mom, but I didn't know it when
Yes.
I was 10. And what I loved about traveling around the world is that they're all, we only have one species. In fact, we don't even have breeds of species, just one species. They all have the same problem, but like a window, a bathroom, a door, or a root canal. They make their bathroom slightly different, the window slightly different, the pave, the car. And I just love how one species, one problem, but the variance of how they solved it around the world. And you know who the smartest ones are in dentistry? It's not. I was talking to a guy who I thought was the smartest endodontist in the world. His name is Bambi Duro Oguntebi, and he's from
Okay.
Gainesville, Florida. And I said to him one day, he was my instructor in dental school, and I said, Bambi, why are you so smart? And he goes, well, it's easy. He goes, I was from Lagos, Nigeria. And we didn't have a root canal camp. So when I learned root canals there, they said, well, the Americans say this, the Europeans say this, the Japanese, the Asians say this. And we were in the middle, and we were looking at this tripod. And so we had to
Okay.
learn the difference. But he goes, but I noticed that when I would go to the Americas, they all drank the purple Kool-Aid. The Japanese all did it this way. The Germans did it this way. The Americans did it this way. He goes, in Nigeria, we didn't have a way. So
Okay.
we learned between the three. So we learned how to think. And so he thought a lot of Americans just drank the Kool-Aid and believed it, but they learned compare and contrast. And that's what I love
Right.
about going around the world, because every single person's the same with the same problem, and they all solve it at different ways. And some people think they love to see architecture or art or paintings. I always went to a dental office. I mean, other people go shopping, but I would go into a dental office, and I have so many stories of all these countries on Dental Town. One of the forums is called your Dental Town neighborhood. You know, it's all the countries, and it's the last
Okay.
forum. It starts with W, and every
Okay.
country that I went to, I showed my pictures of a dental office, and it's just so neat. It's called Your Dental Neighborhood, and we list all the countries, and there's like
Okay.
208, and they all do everything slightly different because all problems are local. They all have variants, but I just love it. And then that I think the greatest thing about the internet is all these countries. I mean, think of Marco Polo. It took him, a decade to just go from Europe all the way to Hong Kong and back. This wasn't available. But now with the internet, I'll give you a great point. So the Americans, when you don't have a chin and when you smile and your gum shows, they do surgery. They cut your jaw and move it forward. Well, in Taiwan, when you don't have a chin, it's a rotation. You rotate back so you don't have a chin and your gums come down. Well, they rotate it back. They put in bone screws and rotate it. And I interviewed this orthodontist in
Okay.
Taiwan, and he doesn't do orthodontic surgery, and he's not a big fan of the way the Americans do it. He likes bone screws and tilting it back. Not only did that podcast on YouTube have my gosh, I'll try to find it. It was my gosh, it was bone screws. It was episode 379 with Dr. Chris Chang. It had
Yes.
15,000 views, and I had all these Americans and Canadians saying I had no idea. And I'm like, yeah, because you're an American, so you live in North America, so you don't realize that. Like look at the population. There's only 13% of the planet lives in the Americas. We're on the back side of the earth. There's nothing going on there. There's only a billion in the Americas. There's only a billion in Europe and a billion in Africa. There's almost 4 billion in Asia. And I
Right.
mean, the human race is basically 4 Asian tigers, one in America, one European, one African. But the game is this. And I said, you really think that 4 out of 7 people are Asian, and you don't think that possibly they got a better way than you do? I know America's great, but it's only great because you never saw Dr. Chris Chong in Taiwan talk about bone screws, and I probably got more feedback from that video by orthodontists saying, wow. In fact, one of my friends here, seriously, his daughter needed this orthodontic surgery, and he was ready to get on a plane and fly to Taiwan
Okay.
until Dr. Chang told him, "Oh no, there are American orthodontists who understand this and reconnect it." But so I think we're the internet it's harvest time, where you have
Yeah.
5,000 years of all these great civilizations doing this, and now they're all connected by the internet and YouTube and social media, and it's just stirring the pot, and everybody's going to find all these special secret recipes they never heard of before, and it's
Yes.
all it's all going to trend towards the median. I'll give you another example. 20 years ago, I could be lecturing in Tanzania or in Africa or Central America. And in fact, if I had to have a root canal done, I would think I need a pilot. I'm not going to get it done here. I need a pilot. But after YouTube came out, I've never been to a country and lectured where you couldn't find somebody that could do any procedure just as good as anywhere in the world. And I was talking to this girl in it was in I think it was either Tanzania or Kenya, and I said, "Where did you learn endo?" And she goes, "YouTube." She goes, "Every day I would just type in endo and I would just watch YouTube videos that people put up for free."
Fantastic.
And she goes, I watched an hour of endo on YouTube every night for a year, and I feel like my endodontic game just went amazing. And there she was.
Constant learning. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And if I would have needed a root canal, I mean, I would have let her root canal any tooth I had in my mouth. Because these are really great times. In fact, I think in the year 2007, when Steve Jobs took a touchpad and your music collection and your telephone and the internet and plug those four things in one thing to make my iPhone, I think that was the birth. That was the equivalent. You know, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. That was one guy landing on the moon. But I don't really feel like humans landed on Earth until 2007. And this is their lunar land walk. This is their landing on the moon. And now a child is born and you hand him this digital transponder to hold in his hand, and the whole world is his oyster. I think 2007 to 2107 will be mankind's finest century ever.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely right, sir. And so, one more question. Will that be okay, sir? There is a chunk of dentists who started their practices around 1970, 75, something. And in my city, I live in Ghaziabad. It's in Uttar Pradesh. That's another state in just next to Delhi. So one of our pillars of dentistry in our city, he started his practice in 1968, and he's like the torchbearer of a professional dentistry in my city, and he's still active till this COVID phase came, and uh, because everybody was going through this, that if a dentist has a comorbidity or a diabetes or blood pressure issues or multiple organ issues if they have, so they should stop their practices and they stay at home. But at this point of time, when they want to wind up their practices and sell it off to the businessman or a corporate chain, so, and they are not business leaders, they are hardcore practitioners. They have practiced all these years with a lot of grit, and they used to practice for 7 to 8 hours every day, and they had huge large number of patients that come to them, and how they should evaluate their practices before they sell out to a corporate chain, so that they are not cheated and they get the real kind of legacy or the money that they have invested in those 40 years or 45 years. How should they do it?
Well,
How should they?
the best investment is to still keep plowing your garden. I mean, it's always
Okay.
to sell your farm and then live off the money till you die versus to keep your farm and say, okay, if you're working too much, how about every year you work one less hour and make one more dollar? My dentist that I grew up with, who lived next door to me, he just celebrated his 50th anniversary. Now he's down to 2 days a week, just Monday and
Yeah.
Wednesday, 6 to noon. But on his
Okay.
Monday and Wednesday from 6 to noon, he makes 100 grand. And if you were going to make $100,000 right now, you would take it divided by the interest rate. So $100,000, and the treasury bonds are not even 2%. Let's divide that by 0.02. You would need $5 million in the savings at a 2% bond rate to make $100,000 a year. So the fact that he is still making $100,000 a year, that's equivalent to having a $5 million of bonds. And I don't see, dentistry's not going away. Cavities aren't going away. By the way, I got to tell you my funniest India story. When I grew up, my family's Catholic, and my two oldest sisters went straight into the Catholic nunnery straight out of high school and became nuns. And my oldest sister Ann, called me today, and their idol was always Mother Teresa. I mean, Mother Teresa Calcutta was the biggest name in my. It was like Jesus and Mother Teresa, and they always told us that in India, they're the healthiest, they were vegan, they just ate so healthy, and I believed it all. And then when I went to New Delhi, every dentist house I went to, I was greeted with a tray of sugar cookies and coffees and teas and sugar. I never ate that much sugar in my life. And I'm just like,
Okay.
I thought they were all vegans. So the bottom line is, dental decay is not going away. Even if you're vegan, they're still going to eat sugar cookies.
Right.
And you're still going to have dentistry. People are going to have cavities. They're going to fall down, break their teeth out. And this is your purpose. This is what you do. This is a vocation. I mean, did Mother Teresa one day say, you know what? The people don't need any more prayers. And that we don't need any more orphanages. And we don't need any more dentistry. I mean, you're a dentist. And if you're, and I just see that, when people say, well, I want to retire in 5 years, my first question is, well, why? And they'll say, well, I hate endo. And I'll say, well, did you know there's endodontists like you? Dr. Garg will do your endo. You don't need to be an endodontist. Or they'll say, I'm tired of my staff. Well, let's fix what you don't like. Let's not throw in the towel. And in the middle of a pandemic, when a fireman doesn't show up at the house and say, this fire is just too big, we're just going to let it burn. I mean, the bigger the fire, the more firemen show up, the harder they work. Sure, and more firemen might lose their life in the fire, but I don't know. I like the challenge. I'll tell you, in endo, I don't want to do a root canal on an incisor. I mean, how hard is it to do a root canal on number 8? You know what I like? I like a molar. I like a retreat. I like a broken file in a molar. I mean, if you told me that tomorrow I'm going to do a root canal number 8, I mean, I'd show up 10 minutes late. But if you told me it was a failed root canal number 2 and a broken file, I mean, you're ready for the big game. And I don't understand those dentists. Like, I'll look at them, and when it comes to golf, very competitive, best clubs, taking lessons, going to the finest golf courses. Whenever they do anything, they're so competitive. And then when it comes to dentistry, they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to try that one. I want the easiest root canal. I'll pull the tooth that's so loose it's wiggly. It's like, well, where's your competitive juices that you show me in sports? And when you're a child, look at children. Doesn't it seem like most parents spend the most time on the child with the most needs, and then the child who's doing everything right's like, well, how come I never get any help? Because you don't need it, So it's kind of like your dental office. If you have a really big problem in your dental office, that's the challenge. Rise to the occasion. Solve that. And if you don't know how to solve it, there's 2 million dentists on earth. Somebody has already seen this problem. Somebody can help you through this. But I don't understand why. I know a dentist who likes to buy old cars and completely restore them. And then during the pandemic, he wanted to throw in the towel about, setting up plexiglass and air filters. I'm like, well, how did you take a 1964 Mustang and make it brand new, and then over here in its dentistry, and you just had to make a few changes, and you threw in the towel? So it's all in your head. But rise to the occasion. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your children, because they're going to need a dentist. This is just it came out of nowhere. Nobody planned for the pandemic. We thought 2020 was just another year. No one knew they signed up for 2020. And this is the biggest pandemic of the century. And this is when everybody needs to be their best. And so it's low discipline to start being cranky. I want to sell my practice. I want to give up. I quit. Oh, come on. Go get your violin. And it's okay. I mean, Margaret Thatcher even said in her book, in The Iron Lady, that it's okay sometimes that she'd step out into the hallway and cry. But she'd have her cry, she'd blow her nose, she'd suck it up, buttercup, and she'd go back to battle for what she thought was right. And I don't care if you think what she did was right or wrong. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the commitment to try to solve a problem. And this is when 8 billion humans need their 2 million dentists the most. This is when they need us. And the bars and restaurants, they're not going to take your temperature and wear gloves and PPE. And I mean, so it's real easy to say, this isn't a good time to go out and mingle in big crowds. Why don't you stay home? It's a transmissional disease. But people are going to us. We're a doctor. And we got this. We got it with AIDS. We got it with Corona, and who knows what the next one will be. I mean, I may live long enough for another H1N1 influenza pandemic. I heard the other day they found a case of the plague in Arizona. I kid you not. The plague killed 30% of Eurasia. And in fact, it took 200 years for the population to come back. Most people don't realize that Russia hasn't even gained its original pre-World War II population. They lost 20 million boys on that line with Germany, and they still don't have as many people as when that war started. So this is when the world needs their 2 million dentists to quit crying, suck it up, buttercup. We got a war going on, and I love this war because I'd rather be fighting another species than fighting my fellow man in Europe or Asia or whatever. And I think this should pull the whole world together because in world wars, it divided people. But now it's our team Homo sapien against team coronavirus, and we need to all pull together and beat this virus. We should be able to beat it back into the last century, and this is what we need. We don't need a bunch of people to quit, to cry, to throw in the towel, to give up, to sell their business and go home. I mean, you could find that anywhere. But you know what's rare? The person who says, I love a good challenge. I mean, would you rather play the big game of the year, the Super Bowl, or would you rather go play a little league? I mean, imagine your team say, well, I only want to play people that are under 5 years old so that I can beat them really. Come on. I want a competitive challenge, whether it's endo, implants, or the corona, and just rise to the occasion and give it your best.
Okay. So that was really nice of you, sir. So of giving all that information. I have one more thing. We were talking about that 2 million dentists, and by the kind of population India has, we have a lot of competition, both amongst the new dentists that are coming up and the dentists that are settling with their practices and they're opening up their practices. So what happens is there are two concerns that I want to talk about. One concern is what is your message for them that they can beat the actual competition that is happening on everyday basis with the neighborhood dentist that is coming. Like if I have opened up my practice and within 3 months time or 4 months time, there's a dentist next door. So how to beat that competition? Because the world is not about a dentist and a patient relationship anymore. It has become more of a consumer and a manager sort of a thing that is happening, and that is the bad truth about dentistry that is happening now. So how to beat that kind of competitions? And because because of this severe competition that we face, the earning curve, that means the kind of financial growth or stability that dentistry should bring to us is not bringing us at that same pace. So there are two questions, like financial stability, how to achieve it by beating the competition itself, because parents are concerned about it. Most of the parents that their children are going to dental schools now, they in colleges they are worried about it. So when they will get settled financially and earn.
Well, I would, I've been to India. I've been to 50 countries. I never see one player win the market. Like, look at India. Is there just one car? How many different cars are there? How many different markets? I mean, look at housing in the United States. You could live in a van. You could live in an apartment, a trailer, a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, a mansion. So when you look at, I mean, how many major car companies are there around the world? There's a dozen major car companies. There's 8 major food companies that sell all the packaged foods. So there's not one, you can't say everybody in India wants this. So there's all these markets, and with time, what I would do is obviously the lower cost market is always a sure victory. So if everybody charges $1 for this one
Right.
filling, and you're the one who can figure out how to do it faster, cheaper, higher quality, lower cost, smaller. The other thing about dentistry is I know that this is iPhone. I know this is Coke, right? I know these brands. They're very physical. Dentistry, we sell the invisible. When you tell me that I have 4 cavities, I have to look at you. I have to trust you because I'm not Dr. Garg. I don't know. I'm not a dentist. You say it needs a root canal. So when you sell the invisible,
Right.
you have to do things like why do I believe you? Well, if you have different staff every time I come in,
Yeah.
if I see you out in the bars drinking till 3 in the morning, and you get so building a relationship, building long-term staff. If I know that I trust you, and now there's a new dentist on the corner, and maybe he's cheaper, but I trust you, and you sell the invisible. Nobody knows what a root canal is. I mean, unless you're a doctor that does them. So it's I would always say that you got to be transparent, you got to be trustworthy. Patients are can be all over the board, but the stronger the relationship, just like you're gonna, wherever there's a strong relationship, there's going to be trade there, and that's been going on forever. And you take someone like I don't know mechanics. I grew up with 5 sisters, so I played
Okay.
Barbie dolls till I was 10, while my friends that had 5 brothers, they were out pulling car engines and redoing engines. So I'm really good at Barbie dolls, but I know nothing about auto mechanics. And so when I go to an auto mechanic, I've been going to Garrett's across the street from me because I know him and I trust him. And if he says, well, it's not your battery, it's your alternator, and you're hoping it's a $100 battery, not a $1,000 alternator, but when he says, no, your battery's fine, it's your alternator, I trust him. And I'm not
Right.
going to go somewhere else because I
Right.
trust this man. And
Yes.
in dentistry, people, they're not calling their patients at night to see if they're okay. They're not giving out their cell phone number. They're not. They have rapid staff turnover. They walk in the room, and the first thing they do is they look at the X-ray, and then they look at the tooth. It's like you forgot that tooth was connected to a human. You didn't even look them in the eye, shake their hand, and ask them, how are you?
Yeah.
So get the relationship, build a long-term team. I mean, I got to ask myself, if you care so much about your patients, how come you can't convince your team to care that much and stay on the journey? How come you walk in a dental office and the longest anyone's worked in that office is 2 years? And then I go across the street and they got 3 people that work in that office who have been there 20 years. I already know who's going to collect more money and have more patients and more relationships. So I would go back to basics. You sell the invisible. Nobody knows what a MB2 canal is, and they just know, do I trust you? And if they're afraid to ask a doctor a question, but you've had the same assistant for 10 years, well, she might wait till you leave the room and then she asks her question to the assistant because she trusts
Yes.
the assistant. And she
Right.
trusts you because you've kept this assistant 10 years and she feels
Yes.
comfortable talking to her. So
Right.
dentistry is not going away. trust is not going away. The only true wealth is health. I don't
Right.
care how many. I mean, I don't care how many gold bars you have. When you die, you know that you're not going to be able to spend them. And so, just build the relationships. Dentistry's rock solid for 200 years. It's guaranteed for the next 200 years. The pandemic is going to bring out the best for everyone who can rise to the occasion and rise to the challenge. And it's going to
Right.
weed out the weak. I mean, that's what it's doing. I mean, the virus is
Yes.
killing the elderly. And I see a lot of older dentists that just throw in the towel, and that's what it does. So it's clearing out a lot of the weak, and it's giving a great opportunity for the people that are up for a challenge. And I can assure you that whenever there's an event like this, there will be long-term permanent changes in dentistry with infection control. I see a lot of things that are hitting rock bottom in America. I mean, this is bringing out a lot of issues in healthcare, and how that came out with police reform, with dental insurance, with so in these tough times, it's forcing people to make changes, and that's the good news out of this. I think after the pandemic, America is probably going to change 3 or 4 things moving forward, and that's how it should be, and that's how it rolls forward. So it's all good in the end.
I must say you are a master of analogies. You give such good examples that I'm blown away more than like anybody else. Like, and so one more thing that has come up in last 3-4 years is we have seen more professional photography, or the dentistry has gone through a lot of changes of documentation of cases, and with very high level of documentation, what happens that the the dentists who are still learning the game, or they have just been into the dentistry for 4 5 years, they feel a lot of insecurity that I am not being able to achieve this kind of work, or a very diligently done and very legitimate with so many likes and followers on YouTube and on Facebook, and I must try to achieve that, but somehow they lose that, what you say, the zeal of working on a regular patient with regular work. They miss out that, they go more into documentation, and with a lot of pressure on them to provide a better photograph for the Facebook. How to fight this pandemic? This is also a pandemic in mind, so how to fight that?
Well, the best way Facebook can, if a dentist really wants to grow their practice with Facebook, they should
Yes.
delete their account. Okay, it's a total. In fact, when I got 300,000 followers, I quit Facebook. I quit, and why did I quit? It was the pandemic, right? It's February. I think February 8th was the last time. It's like, okay, there's a pandemic. Facebook was the first casualty of the pandemic for me. 300,000 followers, haven't been back since I think it was February 8th in that time.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, you have a patient in the chair and you're back in your office posting on Facebook when you could have been in the operatory talking to your patient. Running for mayor, every time. When I opened up my practice on the weekends, I walked to every house. It took me 6 months, and knocked on the front door, and they answered. I shook their hand and told them I was the new dentist on the corner of 48th and Elliott. That's very different than sending you a flyer, a brochure, or a post on Instagram. I always say that you got to get out like you're running for mayor. You're not going to win town mayor from your Facebook post. You're going out there and you're pressing the flesh. You're shaking their
Right.
hand. And when I opened up my office, the first thing I did is I said, okay, I'm healthcare. I called up every MD, chiropractor, naturopath. Every weekend, I invited one over to my house to charcoal, steak, hamburgers,
Okay.
beer, and had a relationship. That's very different than posting a picture on Facebook. When the pharmacies in America, people who don't know what to do with a toothache, they usually go to the pharmacy and they say, should I take Tylenol or ibuprofen or Ambisol. Well, I made sure every one of those pharmacists had been at my house and knew me
Great.
and my children and charcoaled and then I was in their phone. And so many times when someone comes up and says they have a toothache, they would FaceTime me. So when you talk about teledentistry, we've been doing teledentistry since Steve Jobs came out with the FaceTime in 2007. And there'd be at Walgreens, and the guy would be like pulling back his deal, and I'm looking in his mouth and saying, just come across, just come across the street and let me look at it. So I would get out there. You're selling the invisible. When I check into a hotel, the maid puts a paper slip around the toilet seat. Why? Because I didn't see her clean it. She didn't see me. So it's just selling the invisible that, hey, we clean this. The glass in the bathroom has a little cardboard cup on it. Why? She's just saying it's a new glass. The bed, they pull down the corner and put a little chocolate on there. It's just saying we care. And in dentistry, you walk in the room and say, you have irreversible pulpitis on number 3, and we'll need endodontic therapy and a post buildup and a full coverage. They don't even know what you're saying. They're trying to look at you and say, do I trust this doctor? Do I trust his staff? Infection control. They don't know the difference between a rod and a cocci. They don't know the difference between rhinovirus and coronavirus. But my God, if your place is dirty, if they see it's dirty, they look on the ceiling fans. There's black around the edge. I mean, having a maid service make your office beautiful would give them more confidence that your autoclave work.
Absolutely.
You could have the best autoclave in the middle of a dirty place. So it's about humans, and they're complex. And you're not a clergy. You're not a religious. You're not there to give them religion. You're not the government. You're not there ready to kidnap them and put them in a cage and hold them on trial. They're coming to you not because you're their mom or their dad. They're coming to you because you're a dentist. And everyone needs a dentist. And you just do your job as a dentist. Don't be judgmental. This isn't the time to lecture them on religion, sex, politics, violence, this and that. I'm your dentist, and shake their hand and press the flesh and build a relationship and give them your iPhone number. I mean, how many people can follow you on Instagram? I don't want them to follow me on Instagram. I want them to have my phone number. And when they call me, and everybody's like, oh, they'll all be abusing that. They never abuse your time. And when they call you, you're really glad they had your number. And then if it's Saturday and someone's having a crisis, and you don't want to be bothered. I mean, I now I'm wondering what kind of human you are. I mean, who would want to be watching a soccer game knowing that Margaret is home crying because her tooth hurts? And then I would tell my boys, hey, Daddy's got an emergency, everybody in the car. And it was a family event. My 4 boys would run to the car like it was a fire truck going off to a fire. And our goal is we were going to get to our dental office before the patient did. And the littlest one would open the front door, and the other one would put on the bib and napkin. And then we would put out their fire, whatever that emergency was.
Right.
And the patient never forgot it. I have so many stories from so many older patients says, oh my gosh, it was on Thanksgiving 20 years ago. I knew there was no way anybody was going to see me, and I called you, and all you said is, okay, well, I'm on the way to the office now, and you better get there before I do. And I'd hung up, yelled to the boys. We always got there first. We were like 3 miles away, and they love the kids. They love the emergency. And it's like, it's all about attitude. I mean, it's Saturday. I was in there 15 minutes. And you don't have to clean the fish. A lot of times, if you just get an x-ray, a diagnosis, an antibiotic, a pain med, sometimes we would do it. Sometimes we would not. But it just that you care. And that you can be bothered, and that you're in this thing for the game. And that word gets around town. And I've never been sued because I gave you your money back. If I make you a denture and you say it's horrible and you like the old one, I'm giving you the money back. And because I don't want someone to be upset and live a block away from my office and be all mad for 30 years. So at the end of the day, we don't sell iPhones and bottled water and Coke. We sell the invisible. Nobody
Yeah.
knows what we're selling. When we tell you you have a cavity and need a root canal, they don't know what a root canal is. And so they got to trust you. And that is an ore. And if you can build an ore of trust and safety and transparency, as opposed to being opaque and silent and talking in terminology no one understands and always having to take them into a private room, just long-term stuff. I got so many staff that have been with me for 20 years. And when my patients have a big problem, they don't even have to talk to me. They can talk to someone that they already have a 20-year relationship with. And it just works out. So just rise to the occasion. That's my message. Rise the occasion. This is the time dentistry needs their dentist to be their best. Not last year, not next year. We need everybody to rise to the occasion now.
Now, I feel lucky because I had been in a private practice since 5 years now, and I have two assistants with me. And one of the assistant has been with me for 4 years, and one assistant has been there for since 5 years, almost like just 2 or 3 months short of my practice. So I, with your wisdom, I feel I am lucky enough to have those people because lot of patients connect with them. Yes, you are absolutely right that my patients connect with them in certain ways, and they have very small things, but they do ask my assistants that yes, do I actually need this treatment? And they say go ahead and we can we'll make sure that you're comfortable. So first thing is uh, going that. So one more thing, because of so much of corporate culture that has come up and multiple branches of clinics have come up, like um, so they are running the game of advertising and marketing and uh, going into your mobile phones and calling you up 10 times 15 times for free checkups and discounted rates. Sometimes we do lose a kind of patience, or what happens is there is a patient that who will stand up to me for a checkup, and they gave me the prescription of one of the corporate clinics from the nearby place. And I could see that the patient needs a simple extraction and that is it. But the patient was not given care and the pain was not relieved, but a huge estimate of bill was given to them for future treatments. So, how to beat the competition and still care for the patient also? This kind of patient, that discount thing that is happening, because a lot of people are attracted to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like your relationship with your child or your wife or your dad or your mom. When you have a relationship with your mom, it doesn't matter what all the other moms in the universe are doing. It's between you and your mom. And I always saw dentistry as like a golf game. You know what I mean? I love the single sports yourself, golfing. It doesn't
Right.
matter what everyone else is doing. It's your game. And it doesn't matter about all the dentists and all the competition. It's your relationship with that person. All the DSOs in the United States, I think they are better with finding a location. I think they're better with advertising. I think what they do the best is the call center. You call any of the major DSOs in America around the clock, a human will answer, tied into a schedule. They do a lot of great things there. The areas they're having a lot of trouble with is the pool of people that want to work for them are new kids. And America graduates 6,000 a year, and they basically want a job the first 5 years. So 6,000 times 5 is about 30,000. That 30,000 pool is about all really they have to work with. And if they're going to get anything beyond that, they're going to have to learn how to retain their doctors. And I think they do a great job trying to, but it's hard to herd doctors and cats. I mean, you can't get 100 cats to follow you down the street. They all go different ways. And dentists, doctors, lawyers, physicians, they're not the herd mentality. If you want 1,000,000 boys to work for you, you should have a McDonald's or an army, okay? But if you had
Right.
1,000,000 dentists work for you, could you get them to agree on the same endo file, the same endo sealer, the same diagnosis? I once watched two dentists almost go to blows right here over one saw 8 cavities on bite wings, and the pediatric dentist saw 0. And I literally thought this was going to go to the floor. Okay, I mean, it's just like, God, just settle down. Just relax. But I think that we sell the invisible. Learn from the competition. I've always stole from the competition. I mean, you see a big company doing something great, and then you do it. What is the DSO doing good? For that, do that. If you think that your mousetrap dental office is perfect for every single person in India, well, you're out of your mind. You couldn't make India one car. If I went to India and said, India, you will only get one car and one house, and everybody must like this one car and this one house, they'd throw
Not
me out in
possible.
the middle of the ocean in 2 seconds. So you're not going to please them with one car, one house, one motorcycle, one moped. So everybody needs something different. A lot of people in dentistry are going to go after price. Well, you can lower your price if you are faster, more efficient. So everybody can improve their efficiency. Everybody could improve their cost. Everybody could improve their daily customer experience when you get to I walk in your office. I mean, everything could be improved. I don't know. I mean, every human being knows they could be healthier, they could sleep more, they could eat better, they could work out more, and that's what your office. It's a daily competitive game. So if you're in the game and you're in that game every day, every week, every month, every year, decade after decade. I mean, today's my 30-year anniversary of lecturing.
Yes.
My office is 32 years old. And why do dentists say they're still practicing? I mean, what's the longest you've ever had a root canal technique? You're an endodontist. What's the longest you've ever had your technique exactly the same before you slightly altered it?
No, can't happen. Every case is different. Every
Yeah.
case is different. Yes, every case.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you can always, so you're not going to please everyone. If your goal is to please 8 billion humans, I think you should move to the moon. Because you could probably barely, and by the way, I just finally saw the man in the moon. They talked about it the whole life. Everybody always talk about the man. I never got it, but I
Mhm.
finally got it. I was looking at the full moon, but you
Mhm.
can see, actually, it looks like a man in the moon on the crescent moon. I totally missed that. But the bottom line is you can always improve everything. I mean, every human knows they can improve. Every country can improve. Every government can improve. Everybody can improve. Everybody knows that. It's just, are you willing? Are you up for the game? Are you up for the challenge? And if your head is still in the game, you're going to be happy and healthy and you're in the game. And then when your
Yeah.
head's not in the game, I always wonder what's wrong. You know what I mean?
What's
It could be depression. It could be drinking too much. Maybe it's the biggest disaster cases I've seen in dental office. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Then you find out that the dentist just lost a 6-year-old child to cancer. And then I would be thinking, my God, I mean, I don't know if I could have hung on to my practice if that happened to one of my boys. But so you don't know what your patients are coming in with. Like some people a patient will leave and they'll say, that guy was really a jerk. Well, you don't know. Maybe his dog just ran away. Maybe his child just died. I mean, so give everybody a fair shake. Work on your own self. It's really easy to judge other people and say, oh, well, Putin should have done this, or Trump should have done this, or this. Well, what should you have done? I mean, have you ever noticed that everybody who always is judging everyone else, it's like, well, when do you stand in front of the mirror and judge yourself? I mean, let's go back to your dental office. Let's not talk about China, Russia, and Trump. Let's talk about your dental office. How could
Right.
you make a better experience? How could you do dentistry faster, higher quality, lower cost, smaller, friendly? Just work. It's a golf
Yes.
game. It's not a boxing match. This isn't the UFC where we're going to go kick and punch. It's just you and your practice. It's a golf game. And the only
Right.
person you're competing against is yourself. And if you
Yes.
give it your all with a great attitude, you're going to do fine.
Absolutely, absolutely. You told us that you have four boys. So did they pursue dentistry? Any one of them pursued dentistry?
You know, they all worked with me. They were all dental assistants, and they all worked for me. But they all
Okay.
had different interests. But I always told them, you know, my dad had 9 Sonic drive-ins, and he desperately wanted me to drop out of high school, like all the other franchisees. In fact, he told me, and he was correct. By the time I got out of dental school, many of his friends' sons, who were my age, already were millionaires and had 4 or 5 restaurants. But I love my dad. He was the best guy ever. But my next door neighbor was Kenny Anderson, the dentist. And my dad made hamburgers and french fries, and Kenny did root canals and crowns. And I told my boys, I didn't want to make hamburgers and cheeseburgers for 40 years. And back then, you know, the technology, they didn't have iPhones and Facebook. And when I saw that X-ray take a picture through the tooth, I mean, that was the coolest technology I ever saw when I was a little kid.
Right.
And I stayed true to myself. And I told my boys, I didn't have you for me. I had you for you. And they're happy. They're doing well. I'm so proud of them. I'm mostly proud of
Okay.
them because they feel good about what they're doing. They feel good about their accomplishments. They're
Right.
happy. They're healthy. And my gosh, some of the most miserable people I know became a dentist because their dad was a dentist.
Right. And
And what's funny is a lot of them, their dad didn't even like it. And then the dad that really, you know, so the bottom line is kids are unique. And I
yes,
told them, I had you for you, and I want you to
yes,
be, I said, I only want to ask 2 things. I want you to be happy and healthy. And if you're not happy and healthy, I need you to pick up the phone and let dad know why you're not happy and why you're not healthy.
a little bit.
And, you know, and in fact, I'm very, please look at this during this podcast. They've already left me, and what is that? 10 messages on this thread. So just be happy and healthy. And if you want to be a dentist, be a dentist. Shouldn't be anything to do with your old man. You know, it should be that this is what you want to do.
So as a parent, you have given the coolest advice. I believe you are a very cool dad. And yeah, so and uh, before we run out of questions, and so is there anything that you would like to tell us more about how to gain success as a dentist? If somebody is into the practice, or they have entered the profession, and they're in the final years of their dental colleges, and they see the world of dentistry a bit shaky. So what is your take on that? How do you
Well,
give
so
your success mantra to them?
why don't you go outside and find me any girl in India and bring her in and say, how much money would I have to give you to pull your front tooth and you go the rest of your life without your front tooth? How many girls in India would like that? And then how many, if I went up to them and they have a nice house and a car, and I said, well, you're either, you have a disease, you're going to die tonight, or you're going to buy this little pill. And if you take this pill, you won't die tonight. Will they give me their house, their car, their iPhone? Will they give
They
me
want
everything
to.
they've got? So
Right.
the only wealth is health. And
Right.
dentistry is not going away. And as you get more successful, you bid up the price to live an additional day. That's why healthcare costs in America has gone from 1% in 1900 to 12% in the year 2000, or no, 14%, and now it's up to 17%. And it's going to go higher and higher and higher. A lot of governments are saying we're spending too much money on healthcare. Well, you don't say we're spending too much money on cars. You don't say we're spending too much money on houses. Why is healthcare the only thing that everyone says they spend too much money on? But then when they come to losing their front tooth or losing their life, I mean, go up to a mom. If a mom was going to lose her baby to death from a disease, what would that mom give to save her baby? Hell,
Right.
half of them probably give you an arm and a leg and a liver and a kidney. I mean, they only want health, and it's going to keep going that way. But here's my advice to the young kids. The only really unique issue for dentistry is it attracts people who are introverts and excelled in math and physics and chemistry and biology. And if I look at the dentist and they had one error, you got to ask me on my 30-year anniversary where I got this pillow made from my comptroller, Stacy. I went out there because I knew the power of networking. I knew that I learned some unique stuff from my dad who owned 9 restaurants, but I graduated in 87 and it was I'd only been out of school 3 years. And I said, okay, well, I know a lot about this, but what it will do is it'll throw my hat in the ring. So guys like you will come and tell me what they know about endos and root canals and fillings and crowns. And every country I go to, including yours, I'll talk to a dentist and there's a dental office across the street and I'll say, have you ever had him over to your house for dinner? No. When's the last time you had lunch with him? Never. I mean, they don't network. It's not what you know. If I was a young dentist and I was in a town that had 50 dentists and I was going to go to dental school for however many years, well, I would have visited every one of those dentists. I would have got out there, and they don't network. They think that they're competing with you when the two of you are competing with Disneyland and iPhones and restaurants, and yet you two think you're competing against each other. No, dentistry is competing against all the other things you can buy, mainly houses and cars and clothes and movies. Look at Bollywood. How many movies have they bought in Bollywood? You know, I mean, cars, fashion, all this stuff. So your dentist colleague is not your competition, and that's the person who can help you and can learn. And what's funny in Awatuki is whenever a patient gets mad and they want to sue the dentist, well, they're going to go to another dentist across the street, and you're going to be the first person they talk to, and this and that. And, you know, I mean, we're all friends, and we're all in the same arena. So I would say network. I've never walked into a dental office and visited a dental office and didn't learn something. Maybe it's a file. Maybe it's a way they sort their something. You know, you meet a friend in the profession, and I'll tell you what, in America, there are so many medical dental buildings that have like 8 dentists in the same building, and none of them have ever gone to lunch together. It's like the craziest thing in the world. And like people, like on a podcast, like, how would I not have fun talking to you during a podcast? How could that not be a fun thing? How could we both not learn something? I mean, so I would say network. And if you have to leave India and go to Kathmandu to learn how to place an implant, are you telling me there's nobody in your town that can teach you how to place an implant? Why? I would rather go across the street and meet a friend that teaches me than fly across the country and have a stranger. Right. And when I have a bad outcome with a patient, I'd rather ask the dentist next door than call you. I mean, if I have a failed root canal, I love you, but I don't want to call an endodontist in India when I have one across the street. So just, my gosh, if the dentists could just all work together. It's the same thing with the insurance companies. These big Delta dental insurance companies will give dentists $100,000 a year in premiums. And they only hear from the dentist one time a year because they didn't cover something. And they'll write them a letter. You evil, no good, rotten son of a gun. Blah. It's like the guy gave you $100,000 and you didn't even invite him to dinner. I mean, the first person outside of dentistry that I met with was the head of Delta in 1987. His name was Ed Judd. And it turned out I was from Kansas. He was from Missouri. And I said, I want to buy you lunch. And he said, why? And I said, well, in the first 4 months, you gave me like $40,000. And anybody gives me $40,000, I'm taking a lunch. And he just thought it was a racket. And he told me, and it was so sad. He goes, no one ever does this. I mean, like it'll be like, look at Delta Insurance of California. They got, they got the same population as New Delhi. They got 25,000 dentists. Delta of California does $1 billion a year. They've never had the CEO of Delta of California even lecture at their annual meeting. So it's like this guy gives out $1 billion and you don't even want to know his name. So dentists, and it's the same thing in international relations. Look how the United States, they totally would not have a conversation with Cuba, but they totally had a conversation with Russia, And look, I mean, who would tell you? What psychologist would tell you that if you're really mad at someone, the best thing to do is not to talk to them
Talk to
for
them.
40 years? No, nobody would say that. So so you have problems with your dental insurance company. Well, go take them to lunch. You have problem. You're mad at the dentist across the street because you saw one of his patients and you were outraged. Well, he should be the first person you tell. I had a dentist come over one time and with no and was all upset about something about his impression he saw. He saw my impression at the Awatuki Dental Lab, and he thought it was a horrible impression. He had no idea it was an 80-year-old Parkinson lady whose head was shaking. I couldn't lean her back. I had to stand up. And what I wanted to do is temporize the tooth, and we couldn't even temporize it. And my assistant, who stayed with me for 30 years, thought, you know what would be the best temporary? Just have her bite down on impression, and we'll have the lab make a crown. That'll be any better. So the bottom line is just press the flesh. Run for mayor, meet all your dental colleagues, meet all your healthcare colleagues. And if you're in a town and you've never invited another doctor, homeopath, naturopath, chiropractor, specialist, I mean, you're in healthcare. So get out there and run for mayor with your healthcare and your patients. And it's just get into it. It's fun and you'll do well.
And when are you running for the mayor? When is the time?
I'm too old. I lived too long, and now I'm on an age restriction. But yeah, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I can guarantee you that being a dentist,
Absolutely.
I have never worked a day in my life.
Absolutely. You are such a huge ocean of wisdom that I just feel like I am talking to a very friendly dentist, and that is the kind of comfort zone you have given me. I'm a newbie to you, so we are connecting for the first time, but you have given me such a good comfort zone. I believe your patients are the luckiest ones, and sure, they trust you like anything. It has been a massive game changer, sir. You have given me opportunity to interview you, and this is an absolute treat for my eyes also, for my ears also. And I've learned so much today, so much today. I'm out of words. Uh, I don't know how to thank you for giving me so much time out of your busy schedule. And few more things, if you allow me. Just what is the biggest learning that we should learn from COVID? Biggest learning, biggest learning.
The biggest learning is that we used to think it was very important to be a cosmetic dentist or maybe a pain-free dentist or put them to sleep. But now the priority right now is a disease-free dentist. So the American Academy of Disease-Free Dentistry is the most important. And you did a good job with this with HIV. You've been slowly getting better, and now you're going to have to prove that people can come into you, and you're going to have to treat every one of them as if they were a asymptomatic super spreader, and you're going to have to learn to treat these people without spreading the disease. And that's the challenge, and I think it's a fun challenge. I mean, the neatest thing about the pandemic for me is, I mean, going on New Year's, if you would have told me on New Year's, do you know that next year you'll probably have watched 100 hours of video on viruses and epidemiology and infection control? I mean, just out of nowhere, everybody's getting a degree in viruses. And you're figuring out that it's a problem in our food, it's a problem with how we grow chickens and this and that. And I think it's exciting. I mean, I thought this year was going to be just more courses on implants and endo. And now it's turned out this year's almost been completely on viruses. And it's fun and it's exciting. I mean, and to hear my little 4-year-old granddaughter say it perfectly, Corona, and why are you wearing a mask, Raya? For the Corona. She's 4 years old. I didn't know that she'd know the name of a virus at age 4. She was still learning Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. I just think it's all new and it's all fun and it's been very exciting. And I'm really hoping more than anything, a lot of these big events tore countries apart. And I think since this is another species, in the end of the day, it's going to pull us all together because we're going to realize that we got 8 billion humans. We don't live inside the earth. We just live on the surface. We only live in about 70% of the surface is water. And
Water.
then of the 30% that's land, almost everyone only lives on a quarter of that. And we're in this little smear layer on the outside of a rock flying around the moon. And I think it's going to absolutely pull the world together because instead of fighting each other with tanks and guns, we need to fight viruses that we can't even see. And if Team Sapien doesn't start working together, it's kind of like those animals. You ever seen them in Asia where they'll all form a circle? All the yaks, they all form a circle. They put the babies in the middle, and you're the tiger lion running around the outside. That's what Sapien needs to do. They need to get 8 billion people, form a circle, put all the old people and children in the middle, and we all form a wall
Protect them.
against the corona, the influenza, the virus, the plague. So I really think at the end of the day, this is going to pull us all into a circle, and we're going to
Yes.
protect our most innocent in the middle, and we're all going to stand united.
Yes. And for me, the biggest gift of Corona is talking to you actually, because yeah, because I couldn't have gathered enough guts to message you on a LinkedIn and ask you for your time. Uh, I have been a huge fan all my life, like maybe 3, 4 years. I have been uh, on LinkedIn. I've seen your post for so many times. Um, it has been a huge honor, sir, for being you here as my first podcast, because this corona time gave me the facilities to conduct webinars and create my own lectures. I always wanted to have my own YouTube channel but couldn't make one. But this time, because most of the dentists were inbound in their clinics, they were not seeing many patients. It was a great time for them to build up their practices or learn more endo skills with their extracted teeth in their practices and do something. So I thought I should make a program or a module of 22 hours plus a mentorship program sort of a thing. And this was the gift from Corona to me. So I really don't know how to sign you off. I want to talk all night because in India it's like 2 a.m. in the morning. I still wish to talk to you entire night, but uh, I don't know how to say bye to you. I don't know.
And that's so cool because it's 2 a.m. there and it's 2 p.m. here. And I learned that
Right.
the first time I went to India. So, yeah, we're exactly on the opposite side of the earth. So, we're
Or
12 hours away. And it was just an honor to talk to
yes,
a colleague clear on the other side of this little rock we call Earth. And it has been a blast. It's been fun. It's been
yes, sir.
professional. I've had fun and informative. Thank you so much for
Thank
messaging
you,
me
sir.
on LinkedIn, and it's been an honor to talk to you, and we'll do it again. And
Yes,
someday, hopefully
yes,
it'll
sir.
be in person. Hopefully someday
Yes,
either I'll be in
yes.
Delhi or you'll be in Phoenix.
Yes, I will be there, sir. I just saw one small piece of news that one of the old railway bridges had been blasted for deconstruction purposes in Arizona today. So I heard that today on Indian news, and I just I don't know what to speak now because I'm flabbergasted, sort of a feeling I'm having you, and I want to talk to you more. Just allow me to invite you again very soon,
Absolutely.
and I'll come with more questions. I will ask more people. And is there a dentist across the world in your connections you want me to connect to them, or you recommend so that it can be informative for Indian dentists on a larger way?
I would ask that question on Dental Town. I would ask
Okay.
that. I would ask it on Dental Town. There's a 250,000 people there. In fact, on your Dental Town community, we even have Dental Town India. But I would ask that on Dental Town, and the people that have come on Dental Town and asked for
Yes.
podcast guests, they get all they want. I mean,
Right.
those people that post there and say, "I want to podcast someone on this subject," and out of nowhere, 3 guys say, "I'll do it."
Yes. So, with lots of humility and sir, humbleness, I say namaste to you, sir. And this is the way we meet and we greet and we say goodbye also. Thank you for giving your time, sir. It has been such a pleasure that I'm out of words. I don't know what to say and how to say bye to you, sir.
Well, namaste to you. Thank you so
Yes,
much. It was an honor being with you today.
yes. And a huge round of thanks from my side to your entire team, your production house, because they have coordinated well in time with me, and they have been great talking to me, and they have they have communicated very well with me, sir.
Fantastic. All right.
Thanks
Well,
from
have a great day, and it's time for you to go to
yes,
bed.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.